I still don't know who this letter is for. Maybe you, Caleb. Maybe Dad. Maybe just the version of myself that sat quietly at the funeral reception while you raised a whiskey glass and announced something the whole room was already afraid might be true. He always loved me more. You smiled when you said it. Not cruelly, almost casually, like you were repeating whether everyone had already agreed on. Nobody corrected you. Aunt Denise looked down into her drink. Mom adjusted a napkin beside her plate. I stared at the dark stains spreading beneath a melting ice bucket near the catering table because it felt easier than looking at anyone's face. And the worst part is, Caleb, I think I understood why you believed it. Dad laughed differently with you. With me, conversations usually began with a problem. The car registration, the insurance forms, his medication refill, the roof leak, the tax notice. You got stories from him. I got instructions. Do you remember his surgery 3 winters ago? You visited the hospital carrying takeout and somehow made the room lighter within minutes. Dad smiled the entire time you were there. Nurses loved you immediately. After you left, Dad asked me to stay behind because he couldn't remember the password to one of his retirement accounts. That was us. You were comfort. I was continuity. I don't know when those roles became permanent. Maybe when you crashed your truck at 22 and Dad emptied savings to help you recover financially. Maybe when I quietly paid Mom's overdue electric bill at 24 and nobody mentioned it because problems solved silently tend to disappear from family history. I used to think reliability eventually earned tenderness. Now I'm not sure. The morning after the funeral, we sat inside Mr. Whitmore's office while rain pressed softly against the windows. You arrived late, smelling faintly like cologne layered over stale alcohol. Mom kept defending you before anyone criticized you, which honestly felt like the purest summary of our family dynamic. The attorney unfolded the estate documents carefully. At first, everything sounded ordinary enough that I stopped paying attention. Investment accounts, property percentages, specific gifts. Then he said my name. Once. Then again. Then a third time while clarifying executor authority because you interrupted him halfway through. Wait, you said. Why does Naomi control that? Mr. Whitmore adjusted his glasses. Your father structured the estate with Ms. Carter as primary executor, trustee, and financial authority over unresolved assets. You laughed once under your breath like the room had temporarily become absurd. Dad's lake cabin. The trust accounts, the debt negotiations, the sale authority over the house. My name kept appearing beside every difficult responsibility. Yours appeared beside direct distributions already calculated into fixed amounts. I remember feeling embarrassed more than vindicated, because suddenly everyone in the room was seeing something I'd spent years trying not to notice myself. Dad trusted me differently. Then Mr. Whitmore unfolded a second document. A personal statement from your father, he said. The room became very still. He read it slowly. Caleb is who I enjoyed. Naomi is who I depended on. I actually felt my stomach drop hearing it aloud. Not because it was false, because it was precise. Mom started crying immediately, though quietly enough she probably thought nobody noticed. You looked at me like I had collaborated in something. I can't believe this, you said, but I could. That was the terrible thing. A week later we cleaned out the garage together. Rain again. Dad kept every screw, every extension cord, every broken appliance he swore he'd repair someday. The shelves smelled like motor oil and old paper. You found one of his fishing jackets and sat down hard on the workbench holding it. You think this means he respected you more? You asked. I shook my head. No. Then what? I almost lied to protect both of us. Instead, I said the truth. I think he believed I would stay no matter how tired I got. You looked away first. Then, quietly, you always make me feel like I failed him. The words surprised me because they sounded younger than either of us. I wasn't trying to. You didn't have to. That stayed with me afterward, not because you were entirely right, but because families shape themselves around invisible agreements nobody consciously signs. You became the son Dad escaped into. I became the daughter who absorbed impact. Neither role was healthy. Both became permanent anyway. I'm writing this now from the empty dining room of the house we're selling next month. Most of the furniture is already gone. Earlier today, I found an old voicemail from Dad saved accidentally in my phone backups. I listened to it twice. It wasn't emotional. No hidden apology, no profound confession. Just Dad asking if I remembered where he stored the extra insurance documents, because he couldn't find them himself. That was the message. That was us. And maybe that's what I've been trying to understand since the funeral. A person can rely on you completely and still leave you wondering whether you were loved or simply trusted not to leave.